Good morning, children. In continuation with the chapter Sustainable Management of Natural Resources, today we are going to study about one of the important natural resource, that is water, which is a very basic component of life. Water is a necessity for all the terrestrial forms of life. It is the most precious of natural resources that touches our lives in several ways. In India, places having water scarcity are also the places experiencing acute poverty. Despite the monsoon, there exists failure to retain the groundwater due to the loss of vegetation and release of effluents from industries. The decrease in fresh, usable water is due to the destruction of water table and disruption in water cycle. The importance of water, the most precious of natural resources, cannot be overstated. It is so precious that we celebrate World Water Day on March 22nd of every year. Approximately 97% of the world's water is in its oceans, but seawater is not usable without extensive treatment. The fresh water, constituting only a very small proportion, is supplied by two major sources, that is groundwater, which it refers to any source of water that lies beneath the soil layer. Some of the examples of groundwater are wells and springs. And the other example or source of water is the surface water, which includes any above ground collection of water such as rivers, lakes, ponds and ocean. We know there are many uses of water. Water is a basic necessity for all living things. We use water for our daily needs, for agriculture, transportation, construction of buildings, roads, dams, etc. Water is a natural habitat for aquatic organisms. But the human activities are affecting the availability of water and causing pollution of water bodies. We had already learned about one of the polluted water body, that is the Ganga, and we had learned about the Ganga action plan in our previous video. So perhaps this is the right time for all of us to start conserving and managing water better. In this, we have to deal with two issues. The first one is we have to increase the water resource, and the second one is we have to learn to use the existing resources in an intelligent way. Though the distribution of fresh water resources in different parts of our country is not equal, and some parts have good resources whereas others suffer from chronic water shortages. The regions having enough water supply are flourishing because they have good agricultural crops, but the regions having poor water availability are closely correlated to the regions of acute poverty because of poor crop yield. So it is very important to manage especially the groundwater. In earlier times, the management of groundwater in India, it was a very local affair before the arrival of Britishers. Various irrigation methods such as dams, tanks, canals, they have been used since ancient times. But however, these were generally managed by local people, and all the measures were taken to use water resources in such a way that they fulfill the basic minimum requirement for both agricultural and daily needs throughout the year. They also used to consume groundwater in such quantities which used to recharge by local rains. But the arrival of the British, it disturbed the old system. They established large dams, canals that covered large areas. They started exploiting groundwater through large-scale projects. These mega projects are still being implemented by the present government, so that the local people lost their control over the local water sources. So here you can see some of the reasons for the shortage of water. One is the population increase, industrialization, urbanization, decrease in surface area of lakes and tanks, deforestation, which has resulted in less precipitation, and also the absence of barriers. These are all the reasons for the shortage of water. And the consequences, we have already started facing the consequences because of the shortage of water. So the mega projects which was built is dam. Dams are large water bodies that are built by government agencies across the rivers to regulate the flow of water and generate electricity. We'll see some of the advantages of dams. They store enormous amount of water sufficient for irrigation of field throughout the year. The canal systems originating from dams can transfer large amount of water to great distances, which help to raise agricultural production in far away places. Example, the Indira Gandhi Canal. It originates from the Bhakra Dam and it is extended to the places throughout the Rajasthan, which has brought greenery in the deserts of Rajasthan. Another advantage is the large dams. They ensure continuous water supply in the surrounding area, and it is also used to supply water in towns and cities through pipelines. The flowing water from the height is used to generate electricity. One more advantage is it also helps in the controlling of the flood. Here you can see some of the famous dams and canals in India. Bhakra Dam, which you will find on river Satluj in the state of Punjab. Sardar Sarovar Dam, which you will find in Gujarat on river Narmada. Tehri Dam, you will find it on river Ganga in Uttaranchal. Tawa Dam, which is a very large reservoir in Hoshangabad. Mettur Dam on river Kaveri is one of the oldest dam in India. And one of the biggest canal, Indira Gandhi Canal, which is spread over a very large area of Rajasthan and has brought greenery in the deserts. It originates in the Bhakra Dam in Punjab. But along with the advantages, there are many disadvantages of dams. Construction of high-rise dams results in a vast area of land submerged underwater, and many people residing in the area are rendered homeless. This creates displacement of large number of people without adequate compensation or rehabilitation. This gives rise to social problems. At the same time, another disadvantage is the economic problem. Construction of the high-rise dam is an expensive project that involves the spending of huge amount of public money, and some people think that such an expenditure does not generate that proportionate benefit. The next problem is the environmental problem. The construction of these dams cause several problems, including deforestation, loss of biodiversity, and displacement of poor tribals. The large reservoirs of water formed by the dams, they destroy the flora and fauna of the area, which get submerged under the water. So these are all the existing problems due to the dams, and this has resulted in many protests. And one of the protests is the Narmada Bachao Andolan. This protest was being done by the Adivasis, farmers, environmentalists against the raising the height of the Sardar Sarovar Dam in Gujarat, and it was led by Medha Patkar and Baba Amte. And some of the points which they have put forward were the non-fulfillment of basic environmental conditions. That is, when a dam is being built, it has to follow certain environmental conditions which this dam did not fulfill. The next one was the insufficient plans and studies. It was not studied and planned properly. and the local inhabitants were not taken into confidence. The people around the area were not happy, that is the local people, and they started protesting against the officials, and also the insufficient compensation. They were not given compensation properly, and they were not rehabilitated properly. And it was a protest by this Narmada Bachao Andolan that caught the World Bank's attention, and its participation in these projects was cancelled in 1995 because of these protests which was done by the people around the site of the dam construction.